I want to welcome you to the Engineer Your Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. James Bryant, and I have the absolute pleasure of having Miss Dionne Douglas as my guest today. Now, here's the interesting thing about Dionne and I. We have a lot of different, our paths have crossed and intersected a lot, but this is the first podcast interview that I have the pleasure of doing with someone that I went to high school with. So Dionne, thank you so much for joining the show. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Thank you, James, for having me on your podcast. And congratulations with all your success.
Thank you.
So I, as you said, went to high school with you. So Philadelphia, born and raised. Left kind of left Philadelphia to go away to college, right? So I started at Virginia Tech and then ended up graduating from North Carolina A&T with my
Aggie Pride.
Aggie pride all day. So into in electrical engineering.
Mhm.
And since then have just been kind of traveling the country, I'll say, just kind of experiencing new things in engineering, right? So from Boeing to Target to Corning, and now I'm at Kimberly-Clark here right outside of Philadelphia again. Actually, I'm back home and never thought that I would move back home. That was never my plan. So
Yeah,
that's
no.
one of those life experiences, right? So I'm married. I have a combined family of 5 children,
Wow.
4 girls and a boy, um, ranging from 37 down to 20.
Wow.
So the full arc, right? My baby is in her sophomore, getting ready going to her junior year of college. Um, and none of them were engineers as much as I tried, right? As much as I tried. I have the oldest who did graduate from A&T though. I did get one. I was trying to get another one at least, but so that's kind of me in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm still, I think, we were kind of talking before, just like you, I'm kind of my circle is like my family circle, really tight friends, just because between family and work that just kind of consumes who I am.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that doesn't consume everything. I thought, I saw some things on social media about your community service and things that you're
Okay.
doing with the Chamber of Commerce. And so I think everyone, she's just trying to be modest about her accomplishments. And so I talked about these intersections that we have. Of course, we went to high school together at the same time. But when Dionne, when you were at Virginia Tech, I started out at Drexel, but then I transferred to North Carolina A&T. Then you
Mm-hmm.
transferred to North Carolina A&T.
Yep.
So we both have our degrees there. After I left A&T, I went to Virginia Tech for grad school. And the other point of intersection is that I did an internship, 4 summer internships with the Boeing Company out in the Washington area. And listening to your
Mm-hmm.
story, you were out there as well. So
Absolutely.
there are a lot of different things that kind of have our lives intersecting. But tell folks a little bit about your journey. So you said that you were at Boeing. So of
Mm-hmm.
course you were out there on the West Coast. So you're from Philadelphia. You're in the West
Yeah.
Coast, and then from Boeing to Target. So
No, the Corning.
to
Going
Corning.
to
Okay.
Corning. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Boeing to Corning, from Corning to
The
Target,
Target.
from
Yep.
Target
The Kimberly-Clark.
to Kimberly Clark.
Yep.
So of those transitions,
Mm-hmm.
which transition would you say from a job transition has been, was the toughest for you to make?
Hmm. Interesting. I think honestly, the as much as I love the work that I did at Boeing,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was still young, right? So it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
In my mind, it was like 2 years, I'm good. I can go and live anywhere, right?
Yep.
So I moved there to Charleston. And I think leaving Charleston was probably the hardest because
Mm.
it was there where I probably matured the most, right? I had at that point all of my children. I had made a nice community of friends, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It didn't really have family, so they became my family in that area. And lived there for a long time. And we left because the facility was closing, right?
Okay.
Not just by choice, but because the facility was closing. So that was probably my hardest.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the work that I was doing, and I really just enjoyed that sense of community that I
Yeah.
had. And I'll be honest with you, until coming back, getting to Kimberly-Clark and coming back home, I hadn't really found it again. I really
Okay.
hadn't been able to find that. So that was probably the most difficult. And that wasn't on the, as you could tell, it wasn't on the professional side,
Yeah.
right? It's that personal. that makes life easy when you're in a foreign place kind of
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
And one of the sayings that I use a lot is that engineers are people too. And so there is a personal people aspect to what we do and who we are. And those things play a key role in our ability to achieve success in the corporate world and in the business world,
Hmm.
having that community and that support that's there for you. So, okay, you left there and you went to work for Target. We were
Yeah.
talking about this a little bit before,
Hmm.
we started. Tell the listeners a little bit about your experience there.
So at Target, I worked in their distribution centers, right? And one in Huntsville, Alabama, and then another in Indianapolis, Indiana. The job was pretty much the same, though. I was what they called electronics specialist. I was responsible for give it 7 miles of conveyor system. Everything that was electrical, anything that plugged into a wall, with the exception of a computer, was my responsibility there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I was the only engineer in the building. Worked very closely with the electricians and mechanics there. But it was very interesting at Target because what I realized, that was probably the first place I realized that I clashed with the culture of the
Mm.
company, right?
Okay.
Like their viewpoints on what was important to Target. Target was important, and
Mm-hmm.
Target should be number one to them. And I get it; it's a business, and they have to do what they have to do. But it took a lot away from my life at Target, right? So I sacrificed a lot of time with my children and my family because I was working so much. I
Oh
was on
wow.
call 24/7. And the expectation was if my phone rang, I answered, I responded, whether I was on vacation or not. And that
Yeah.
and that came to be, it was very trying for me. It really did. And so I finally realized that I had to stop. I thought it was an obligation, and then it got to a point where it's like, no, this is way too much. So I had to stop. So then that's why I left Target and
But
came in for
I
Kimberly-Clark.
just want to just kudos for you for having the self awareness to be able to say you have to stop. Regardless of what led up to that, when you get to that point and you're like, this is not working, this is not what I want out of life. I've done countless interviews now, Dionne, where people reach that point and they're like, there has to be more. Like, this is
Hmm.
not it. It has to be something else. And they go and have the courage to make a change. So I want to just applaud you for having the courage to make that change.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I really had to, for the sake of my family,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Really, I just seen the strain. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, you can be oh so excellent here at work, but then the family structure just doesn't, it wasn't
Yep.
working out. Wasn't
Hey,
aligning.
that's part of our tagline to help you win at work and at home, because both places are important. So you got the courage, got the you left Target,
Hmm.
and what was next?
So it came to Kimberly-Clark, right? So Kimberly-Clark here in Chester, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly,
Yep.
right? So it brought me right back to the house, actually. Um, and it's cool. It's funny. It's interesting because when I walked in to the mill here, that's what we call the manufacturing facility. So when I walked into the mill, it's like the people are they're very Philly, right? So it's very Northeastern. I'm in your
Yeah.
face. You know exactly how I feel. And I was like, I'm home. It was totally different. It was totally
Yes.
different than being in the Midwest. Like the
Yes.
culture is totally different. So I was just giddy. But anyway, I came into Kimberly-Clark as a asset electrical engineer. So really just working on equipment, right?
Hmm.
Responding to issues, making some improvements. Did that for about 4 years. Moved into our utilities department where we um, generate our own power and steam for our manufacturing process. So worked in there for a while. Then did some capital projects across the facility, right? And
Hmm.
um, do some putting in equipment, improving equipment, all of that good stuff, right? All the way across. And then after about probably 3 years of that, then I moved into engineering management. And
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm sitting now, right? So started as an engineering manager over what we call our converting department, which is like 4 departments. And now I am currently sitting over our utilities, our capital projects, our building and grounds, all of our tech services within the facility.
Oh wow.
So just kind of moving up a little bit, but still in that engineering management
Yeah.
kind of
See,
framework.
again, there's that modesty. Just moving up a little bit, just a little bit. Let's talk through that transition,
Okay.
particularly the first transition from being a peer or an individual contributor to now you're an engineering manager, because I think there are a lot of people that may be having that individual contributor role now and want to make that move up. What were
Hmm.
some of the challenges that you had to face and overcome when making that transition?
Yeah, that one is really tricky, right? And to be honest, I didn't really plan it. I'll put it that way,
Okay.
right? I thought I was going to be the engineer's engineer. I didn't really plan it. But I think I kind of worked my way into it. So I would
Hmm.
say if there's an engineer out there that is thinking, hey, I've been doing this engineering thing for a minute now, I want to go into management, I would say, hey, in the place that you are, like really where you're sitting, start kind of doing that work. So that means mentoring others, right? Mentoring your peers. Maybe if you have a co op program, kind of mentor them, bring in some co ops and show them. Be very open and forthcoming with that feedback because it is a gift that just keeps giving, right? So just
Yes.
make sure that you're open with it when people give it to you and that you're willing to give it to others.
Yes.
For me, James, honestly, that moving from peer to manager was it was interesting and weird. For some of it, it wasn't that bad because I had actually been mentoring some of my peers,
Oh,
right? So it
great.
was
Yeah.
kind of it wasn't bad. It was funny because a couple of them was like, "Yep, that makes sense," because you're already pushing us around. So I'm like, "Okay, that's nice." But then on the other front, it was like because there were some more senior engineers than me on my team, and
Hmm.
now I'm their peer. So now I'm kind of very conscientious about, hey, how do I come across? Am I really giving them what they need? Do I even know how to give them what they need?
Yeah.
And so I was very self conscious about whether or not I could actually succeed in doing that. But what I found out is that it's really about that relationship.
Yeah.
It was really about building trust with the one another and like really understanding they understand where I am, I understand where they are, and we just kind of build on top of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It wasn't
Yes.
about me telling them what to do because I work with them, so I kind of knew how they work. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was just really us building that relationship and me making sure that they understood that I had their best interest in mind. And
Oh,
once I
wow.
was able to do that,
Hmm.
it just became easy. Like it was the easy in the sense of dealing with the engineers. Everything else a little special, but dealing with the my direct reports, it was definitely it made it
So,
easy.
so the
But
power
again, that
of
took time though.
relationship. Yes,
Yeah,
the power of relationships and really leaning into building those relationships. And so,
absolutely.
if so, again, if you're an engineer, you've been doing engineering for a while, you want to make that transition to management. Lead from where you are.
Yeah.
Start where you are. Start mentoring, coaching other
Hmm.
folks that are there. Doesn't mean that you're telling them what to do, but you're helping people, move forward in the areas that they see that they want to exceed and they want to grow.
Yep.
And then as you take that step, as you move to that next level, make sure that you're leaning into the relationships and
Yeah.
building those relationships with people, because that's the connection, that's the piece that's going to allow your team to get work done.
Well, it is. And what it also does is if we once we built that trust early on and you understand where I'm coming from, when I have to come at you with, hey, what happened here? What
Yeah.
are we going to do with this? Nope, I expect you to do better. It's not taken personally. It's,
Yes.
yep, I know that Dionne is talking to me because she knows that I can do better. It doesn't, there's no affront, there's no personal affront. It's really about the business. And if I didn't have that rapport, then they'd be like, oh, what's wrong with Dionne? It's a totally different,
Yep.
it's just a totally different way that you take it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
So,
and I think you bring up a very interesting point. It's not just their perception, but it's your own self perception, of when you are coming in and saying, if that relationship isn't there, then you may be thinking that
yeah.
they're thinking a certain way,
Yes,
regardless
absolutely.
of if they're thinking that way or
No,
not.
not. Yes.
And so that plays a role in your body language,
Mm-hmm.
in how you're communicating, just at every level.
Yep.
And so it's really that relationship helps to not only manage their expectations and help with their expectations, but it helps you with your own self expectation and the way
Yeah.
that you perceive yourself, that self perception as you are giving that instruction
Yep.
there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that is pretty cool. So now so that was the first kind of level. Now you're on the
Yeah.
next level of
Yeah.
engineering management. How's
Yeah.
that coming along?
So it's it's very fresh. So I'm really just learning, to be
Mhm.
honest. I'm in that stage of it's a lot more responsibility in areas and over technologies that I'm not familiar with, which is very difficult for me, right? Because
Mhm.
I feel like I need to know everything.
Mhm.
So I'm at that point where I really have to lean in on my subject matter experts,
Yep.
right? And it's hard, but it's definitely necessary, right? Because
Mhm.
these people, these are my senior engineers. They know what they're doing. They know their jobs well, better than I will ever know them.
Mhm.
And so now I just have to rely and trust on them. And it's the same thing all over again, building those relationships. I've known them, most of them, just from the years that I've been here, but not on the level that I need to get to now. So I still have to, again, I'm at my ground zero, James. Honestly, I'm building trust. I'm trying to, set expectations, but really build that trust. Hey, I'm here for you. Let me know what you need, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
so that then we can kind of grow together.
And so, as you're thinking about your past experience and you're thinking about this experience, what are some suggestions that you would have for people that are thinking through or trying to build those relationships? They're in this situation. They
Hmm.
know they need to build relationships, but they're like, okay, what's my next step, or
Yeah.
what's a step that I
What
can
do I
take?
do?
Mm-hmm.
It's that connection, honestly. I think um I hate to use cliches, right? But if people say like be an open book or whatever, and I honestly can say I'm not, but it is it really is like about being transparent. I only know how to be me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And no matter who it is that I'm talking to, all you can get is me.
Yeah.
And that's raw and it's unfiltered probably more than it should be. But at least you know exactly where I'm coming from all the time. And I think people just appreciate the honesty. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like just even when it's something that they don't want to hear, they appreciate the honesty. And so um that's like the best advice I can say. Like it's really just be you, be transparent and be like true to whoever it is that you're in there for. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I would say don't become a manager or a leader unless you really care about the people.
Mm.
Just don't do it. And there's
Hold
and
on, wait.
yeah,
I want to make sure I repeat that. I want to make sure I repeat that because I think that that's a deep one. Do not become a manager or a leader unless you actually care about the people that you're going to be managing and leading,
correct.
because that matters.
Because that matters. That is the job.
Wow.
I mean, you think about it, my job as an engineering manager is to develop engineers.
Yeah.
Literally, I am supposed to be developing them so that one of them can then be me.
Mm.
Really. And so my job is to make them and put them on the course to get to wherever it is they want to get to, be it inside of this company or outside of this company. Wherever they want to go, my job is to help them get there. Now, of course, I have corporate responsibilities, but really my focus is my team. And so if I didn't have that focus and I thought the other way and I
Yeah.
made it my primary was to support all things corporate,
Mm-hmm.
then I would lose them.
Mm-hmm.
I would lose them.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, for anyone, just if that's not where you are, and if it's about power, if it's about I just want the ability to tell somebody what to do, I just want to sit in the room. This it's not. That's not it. This
Wow.
isn't the job for you. It's not.
Wow. You know, Dionne, I love that. I absolutely love the focus on building up your team and think, because if you think through what we're experiencing just across the country with the great resignation, there are people that are leaving their jobs, there are
Mhm.
people that are choosing to not necessarily come into the office, they're looking for different things. I
Yep.
think it is key when you have a manager in an organization that says, I am interested in you. I want to develop you into the person that I believe that you can be and that you
Mhm.
want to be. And I'm going to help you whether you become that person in this company or not.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the reality of it is that You've done it and so have I, right? I've worked for several different companies, and it's
Hmm.
not because any one company was horrible. It's just at that point in time, it wasn't right for me,
Yep.
right? I needed to move on for me. And
Yes.
so the same can be for them, right? They're figuring it out. And at this stage is great. Maybe in a year or so, not so much.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to feel like I am the loyalty has to be to Kimberly Clark.
Hmm.
The loyalty has to be to them.
Hmm.
What is it that you want in your life? Let's try to make some decisions to get you there.
I can only imagine that your folks are really loyal to you, and they really appreciate that.
Yes, and I'm very proud of that, right? I'm humbled by it and I'm proud of
Hmm.
it. So then it just means that the bar is set even higher. So then you
So
got to
you want
kind
to
of
do it
keep,
more. You want to do
yeah,
it
right.
more.
You got to keep living up to that. But I really do. I push them because, and the reason why I really push that development piece, James, is because as an engineer, I'll be honest with you, you can get caught up in the day to day that you really
Hmm.
don't even think about what you want in a year because you're so
Mm,
focused on today. And
yes.
I did it, right? That's why I said I didn't plan to be a manager. It just happened because if I was planning, I might have did something different, right?
Hmm.
But um, I I think that we all have to really keen in on what's important to us, and we just don't do that as much as we
Yeah.
should.
So one of the I guess programs that I have is called the Engineer's Blueprint for a Balanced Life,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of the first phase in that is determining what matters most to you. So it's getting into some of the stuff that you're talking about, and that is what really matters to you. Well, people will say, "Oh, my family, my faith, my health." You know, they come up with all of these things that are important. I was like, "Oh, that's great. That's wonderful." Now let's look at your calendar. Let's see, how are you actually
Spending your
using
time,
the
yeah,
resource that you have, the one resource that you can't get more of, time. How are you using that to support the things that matter to you?
yeah.
9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, I said that was important, but according to my calendar, these
Not so
other
much.
things are important. And it's not coming at it from a sense of judgment, but it's about being real. It's
Mm-hmm.
about, looking at this is the truth or the facts of the situation. Now that we understand that, we can design a plan to help you get there.
Yeah.
Absolutely design a plan to help you get there. So I absolutely agree kind of, there with what you're saying. So now what are some of the other things that you have going on? I saw something on LinkedIn about, what was it? Was it the Delaware Chamber of Commerce where they were
Yeah.
giving you some kind of
Yeah, it was just
award
like
or a
award. It
highlight?
wasn't an
Yeah.
award. It was like they were spotlighting. I sit on the board for the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, the foundation of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce,
Mm-hmm.
which does a lot of work in promoting the youth in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, just kind of setting them up for success, right? They
Mm-hmm.
started and try and talk to them about different career paths in their sophomore year of high school. And it's like, hey, are you going to college? Oh, maybe not. Well, then let's think about what kind of steps we need to take in order to get you where you need to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's talking about their professional. So I sit on that board, and I sit on the board for the local United Way of Delaware County. And that really is where my passion lies, right? So it's in that community service, serving the community, right, in which we serve. So I kind of live by that creed that I need to make it better than where I found it,
Yeah.
right? And I fully believe that I'm blessed to be a blessing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that really is true for me. And so here within the facility, I co-lead our local United Way organization, right, within Kimberly-Clark,
Okay.
and lead our campaign. And we raise probably over 400,000 a year
Oh,
just to
wow.
give to the local United Way, right?
Yeah.
And so that's that treasure part. But
Mm-hmm.
what we're trying to do is get people to give their time.
Yeah.
We're trying to get it back into the community and see how we can get our hands in and where we can actually help.
Yeah.
And COVID kind of put a hamper on that, but that's where I'm kind of driving, right? And so I sit on the board representing Kimberly-Clark.
Mm-hmm.
We're really just trying to understand what we need to do to be better neighbors.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? And how can we be a better partner to make sure that the community in which we work is better off because we're here?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, and it's really interesting what I found, especially with the United Way, is because I'm an engineer, right?
Yeah.
And they're not. And so the way that we think, the
Different,
way that we
totally
think is
different.
totally different, right? And so, they're
Yeah,
kind of like, hey, let's think about this. And I'm like, could you give me an Excel spreadsheet? Like, give me some points, let's put it in.
yeah,
But I think it helps, right? Because I don't have the creative juice brain, but I can actually put that thing into a plan. And so I love that. And I love that work. And then I currently sit on the board of advisors for Whiteman University, their School of Engineering.
hmm,
So we have a lot of Whitener students here that are co-ops. We partnered up with them. Some of our engineers here are going there for their master's program. So really it's just kind of how we can partner up. We can give them our corporate needs, if you will,
yeah,
right, to kind of help drive their program.
yeah.
And one thing I love about them is that they allow their students once a year to come in and talk to the board and give them the laundry list of we don't like, we don't like, we don't like, we
Oh
like.
wow,
And
yeah,
then they make that adjustment accordingly, right? Because they actually see that the student is their customer,
yeah.
right? So it perfectly aligns. So those are my things. And I think honestly, since I'm here, to your point, my calendar and my old supervisor used to always say this. He's like, Dan, you will always make time. You will always make time for the United Way. You will always make time. My other passion is inclusion and diversity. And
Hmm,
I'm kind of like trying to drive that within Kimberly-Clark too, because I just see a need
yeah,
for us to really understand one another better.
hmm,
There's a lack of understanding that turns into fear and other stuff.
yes.
And we really need to be able to penetrate that. And so it is my goal in that arena to change Kimberly-Clark. So I'm kind of driving in that area as
Oh
well.
wow,
Yeah.
Dionne, I want to thank you for taking the time to share today.
Mhm.
I hope this is not the last time that I have you on the show. I hope you will have such a great experience that you would be on again.
Oh, absolutely.
But I really do appreciate your time. Um, is there anything else, any other success tips, any parting words that you would have for our audience?
I don't know. I think we're all on a journey, James. I'm definitely on one, and it's interesting how where I thought I would be when I started
Hmm,
is totally different from where I am now. And what I thought was success when I was younger
yeah,
is is not even close to where it
yeah,
is. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
yeah, because
yes,
I thought I was going to be the professional engineer with my engineering company, and I'm going da 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 to tinker design whatever. And then as the years went on, I'm like, yeah, that's not important. And
yeah,
and then you have family, and I think we all just need to be able to just enjoy that journey,
yes,
and not, and this I had to learn, not compare where I am with where someone else is and judge myself because I think I should be
yes,
someplace else, right? Because where they are is not really made for me. And I think
right,
I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now. I think that's
yeah.
and I think if we can accept that, um, then life would just be more enjoyable.
Yeah, and,
Honestly.
and
I think it
the
would
way
be.
that I phrase that is that their journey is not your journey,
Absolutely.
and you have to be comfortable and okay with accepting your journey.
Yeah.
And when you're able to do that, but you're able to walk from success to significance and all kinds of things because the journey is where you gain the strength for the next phase.
Hmm.
Like if you don't go through the journey, if you just were to just like and get to the destination,
Yeah. You have
you
no clue
won't
how to
be
handle it.
ready.
No, not at
You
all.
won't be ready for the next thing.
It's not
And
at
so
all.
absolutely we want to be able to lean into that journey. So if people wanted to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to connect with you?
So probably LinkedIn. It's probably I'm like I said before, I'm not big on social media. I'm kind
Okay.
of it drives my family crazy. But so LinkedIn, and I don't know my address, but I am
What we'll do, we'll include a link to your LinkedIn profile
perfect.
in the show notes for the show.
Awesome.
So if people
Awesome.
want to get in contact with Dionne to help what she's doing with the United Way or some of the other initiatives that she's talked about, connect with her on LinkedIn. The link is
Yeah,
going to be there in the show notes. And
that'd be
so,
perfect.
Dionne, I'm going to close this interview like I close every interview, and that is many people know what to do, fewer people actually know how to do it.
Mhm.
And there is a select group of people that actually follow through, do it, and are able to live the life of their dreams. And I want to really congratulate you, Dionne, because you are part of that select few. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a lot of work, but I think everyone can do it. But it is a lot of work, James, as you know. Thank you very much, James. I appreciate the time.